Give thanks and praise, all you dissidents, all you lovely, lovely dissidents. All right, post-production epiphany. I'm putting this in the beginning of the video. Crucial detail and events have come to light just today that I want to offer up for consideration. And the consistency of it is, it's heavy. It's really heavy. Before I forget, I just want to mention that most of the decoding that I do is not to say that I believe that these things are real. It is to say that they are magnified and amplified by the actors on the world stage. This is, I call it the grand homunculus of the mind. Some people call it the zeitgeist. I call it the globe theta. It's the globe theta. Theta is your sleep state. That's why I also call them the mind's dream media. So the mind's dream media is harnessing these natural elements in concordance with the will of the DOW, the Dow Jones, Dogs of War. That's what's on this moon card. So the important information that I was unable to encapsulate in my elucidation on the Navaratri that is coming up right after the solar eclipse kicks off, right after the, I don't want to give up all the goods from what I convey in the video. But there is a very significant meteor shower that takes place on the day of which one was it? The Katyayani, the 6th day of Navaratri. There is a meteor shower that kicks off. But very fascinating news has come into the headlines just today, and I want to correspond it with some alignments in the heavens. So on 7/13, on the Chump event, which was the hidden Navaratri of the summers, the hidden Ka'al-Ratri, the 7th Devi in the ritual of the hidden Navaratri. 7th Devi is Ka'al-Ratri. The 7th muse is Ka'aliope. On that day, 7/13, the moon was over Spica. Sure enough, today on 9/15, the Donald Chumpster was lounging around in his house on the golf course, the ultimate expression of the elitist ennui. Their leisure sport is golf. So he's in his most slothful, vulnerable time on his golf course, and some dude shows up with a gun. And the Secret Service popped a few shots. The story is a hot scramble. Depends on what moment in the press cycles you investigate the information available. It's all a hot scramble. But what cannot be denied is today Venus is on Spica. Venus is on Spica. If anybody missed my live stream with PK, big love PK, go check on my live tabs. PK was talking about how they will prepare the soil. They will fertilize the terra preta. The interpretive groundwork has been laid as Spica was illuminated with the moon on the first Chump event. And now again, Venus is over this fertilized territory of the hand of the Virgin, is holding this chaff of wheat. And that star is called Spica. And Virgo is lined up with it today, when the next Chump shot was popped. Sure enough, on 9/17, I believe, let me see. Let me make sure. Oh, no, it will be, I'm sorry. On 10/2, the date of the eclipse, the sun is about to progress over Spica between 10/2 and 10/3. Let me see. Yeah, right over 10/2 and 10/3. Oh my gosh, no, it's right on 10. It's on 10-8. It's during the Draco meteor showers. I'm freaking myself out. There's too much to keep track of. Way too much to keep track of. So here in a moment, you're going to hear me talk about the Draco meteor showers on the sixth Devi of the Navaratri. Her name is Katyayani. I did not know this until I corresponded it now. But on that day, Mercury and the sun will be over Spica, and this is when this big fat comet comes and dive bombs the sun on Spica. And the name of the comet is basically Tesla. It's got a crazy, foreign-sounding, scary name that I can't even pronounce. Chukchinsan, but it's also called Atlas. Atlas is a rough anagram for Tulsi. It's a rough anagram for Tesla. It's also, Atlas was holding up the firmament. Tesla was using the energy of the pressure of the stratosphere, firmament, whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of stratosphere energy in the air right now. So she's holding the chaff of wheat. During Virgo is the harvest moon. Ukraine means the good grains. It also does have a lot of Thoth. There's a lot of Thoth because of the crane. But the crane bringing civilization to man, Thoth, and written word in the god of the stylist, bringing knowledge cross-culturally and seeding some sort of perennial truth all across all of the realm, the dimension. Also, it's not just the stylist of Thoth, it's also the crane. The crane is how you build a society, a civilization. And so the crane bringing the newborn baby is powerfully embedded in Virgo, in this particular star. So it is so fascinating that just like PK was saying, that they will fertilize this symbol, this egregore of the archetypes of the heavens, and then the torch gets passed as the other egregores pass over the same location. It is next level to see that this Atlas comet, I think it's a comet, maybe it's an asteroid, I think it's a comet, that it's going to pass over the sun during the Navaratri. And it's right between, I mean, it happens between Katyayani and Ka'al-Ratri again, is the day that this Atlas comet dive bombs the sun. Again, Slick's not predicting any future outcomes, but I am seeing a lot of cosmos significance to the fact that they are threatening in Ukraine. They're threatening nuclear rain in Ukraine, and they're also implying that there is a famine on the horizon, as Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. Spica is the placenta star of Virgo, the breadbasket. This is the cesta. She's also just next to the crator, which is the cup. So there's so much placental energy around the fact that this maiden is in a birthing position. She's slothful. She's strewn out. In the paintings of Socrates taking the hemlock, Virgo constellation is signified by Plato, as he's sitting at the foot of the bed, slouched over in exactly the position of Virgo, reclined on the elliptic plane. Okay, yeah, Venus is on Spica today, and the Sun and Mercury and this Atlas asteroid is going to dive bomb it pretty much over Ka'al-Ratri in Katyayani's day of observance on the Navaratri. We got some interesting times coming ahead. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not predicting anything, but it is very fascinating times. As you know, that globe theta, it's all choreography. Choreography is an anagram for G.I. Joe Gurchev. G.I. Joe Gurchev. All right, y'all, get your Snake Eyes breakdance on. Much love and respect. Coach violet, viola. Coach violet, viola. Coach violet, viola. Que llaman Coach violet, viola. Quartz violes viola. Quartz violes viola. Quartz violes viola. Que among the quartz violes viola. Give thanks and praise, all you splendid dissidents. Got all kinds of wonderful astrological developments on our horizon. I want to share them on the channel here. I'm not pretending to predict anything. I'm not divining future outcomes whatsoever. I will point out that science is a seance. And in fact, when you make a prediction based on the body corpus of men of renown in the past, you have to invoke their work into the equation so you can predict future outcomes. This is divination through necromancy of a socially acceptable nature. So if I want to tell you you're going to arrive across the town in 10 minutes, including stops and potential traffic obstacles, I would have to bring forward the E equals MC squared so that I can measure your time of travel and give you an accurate reading based on a dead man of renown's body corpus of success. So science is a seance. And I'm not going to predict any future outcomes here today, but I am going to elaborate on a great many fascinating, highly potent corresponding systems that have a very strong alignment that's coming up in October. So I've been playing around with Stellarium over the next few months and learning a great many fascinating things. One of which, it will be hard for me to get graphics to bring these details forward, as I don't have Stellarium on my phone where I record, but it is in my computer. So the exact alignments of these heavenly bodies are incredibly significant, and more so as I gain more affluence in Stellarium. However, when the Trump assassination took place, it was thanks to Kyle from Tippecanoe Herbs, big ups. He brought to my attention that the 9 Devis are observed in a hidden Navaratri. No, I think it's Navaratri ritual on the summer months that took place over July, basically I think it was the 5th or 6th that it started, and it ran all the way through over the Trump event. And that the Trump event took place on the 7th day of the Navaratri. And the 7th Devi is the perfect Devi to align up with an assassination. Ka'al Ratri. And it blows my mind to no end that we call him Teflon Don. He's got that Ubermensch correspondence. And the entire ritual was packed with the Superman, colors of the flag. Even Superman, sometimes there's gold on his S. There's a gold background on some of the Superman S emblems. Speaking of breast emblems, got my new merch on today. But no, Superman's got the Man of Steel correspondence here. And so, yeah, Teflon Don taking a shot on the same day of the Ka'al Ratri ritual. This is the 7th card. It was in July. July is the Cancer constellation. All the alignments and the potency of it. But it also corresponds to the 1/6, the Tower card, which is also in the 7th spot in my Enneagram. So yeah, Donald Trump on the 13th, 7-13, took a hit, signifying both that Teflon Don, the Ka'al Ratri, and the collapsing of a tower, as the January 6th thing is in his karmic bank account. So the Tower card and the Chariot card were all getting a powerful hail that day. Um, yeah, so fascinating how this alignment of the Enneagram tarot cards seems to have really been harnessed and put into motion during that assassination attempt. All the way down to that tractor in the background spraying the audience with some sort of strange substance, inseminating them with questions and confounding them with confusion. You know, the Tau Rex of the T Rex, of the Dinobots, and the in the subconscious of our pop culture as children. But this card is the universe card, um, and definitely got a fascinating hail on the subconscious realm during that ceremony. And I want, if anybody wants to read the instruction manual to these cards, he actually elucidates on this card having significance of the seen unseen realms, which I decode that to the subconscious subliminal in both aspects, that of movements that are so large and so slow that you do not even perceive that there is movement going on in your experience, and on the micro level, where things that are so fast that you would never even perceive them because they're so minute, but they're still in your information field. So yeah, finding these cards unpacked during the Chump event was quite a few videos back in my channel. So, considering that the Navaratri may have been very important during the last mass traumatic event, I, of course, went into Stellarium and took a look at the alignments on that day, and the moon was in Spica. The moon was on Spica. Spica is in Virgo. It is correspondent to the Hermit card. Yeah, the moon was in Spica. Nietzsche was born pretty much like October 12th, but under the sign of Spica. The Spica is very significant to the philosophic circuits. They've got a thing for passing this torch on the word perspicacious. It will be a perspicacious person who is the philosopher of the future. And that quote was, I think, proliferated by Nietzsche, and Hegel picked it up. So this perspicacious word is something of a torch, as I do believe a lot of the real great minds in the occult world pay quite a lot of attention to the stars of the heavens. And Spica is essentially the sheaf of wheat that Virgo is holding. I think it also signifies a placenta. It also definitely signifies the placenta. Virgo is laid out. She's in a, what is that? She's supine. She's supine in her positioning. She does take up a vast amount of the zodiac. She's laying on the ecliptic plane, just like the way that some women are instructed to give birth. Whether or not that's the best way, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that the birthing ritual is embodying the Virgo constellation per the consensus recommendations for how a woman should give birth. She's literally reclined back, which a lot of midwives will tell you that's not the best way to do it. But regardless of that, it is adhering to the shape of Virgo when they give birth. I find this profound, that maybe the reason that we don't do it the best way is because it's required to adhere to the constellations. Maybe that's the real standard that they're upholding, regardless of what's most beneficial. Just a thought. So we're in Virgo right now. On the 22nd, we will have our fall equinox, and it will be 10 days after the fall equinox that some fascinating things come online. I guess before I even go to the equinox, I should mention that 917 is a partial lunar eclipse. It's almost negligible. The amount of the moon that will be occulted is minimum for most of our perspective. However, the timing of it is quite fascinating. Let me get my stick. So the sun and the time of year will be here at the fall equinox, the 180-degree location opposite from what is considered the pagan New Year. The reason why, if the sun is over in Aries, basically Pisces to Aries, if the sun is in Pisces to Aries, breaking across this line, the reason this is the pagan New Year, they'll tell you that this is back when they used to have the calendars initiating. I'm here to say that this is still the pagan New Year, because this is the markation of the lunar cycle. When the moon goes through its first cycle through Boötes, and as it passes through Arcturus, that is the new year for the moon. So while we're thinking about the sun, because we're over here in Aries, it is the moon that is telling us the pagan new year has started in Aries, because it crosses over Boötes and Arcturus. So the pagan new year, I do believe that a lot of the pagan systems are adhering to the lunar calendars, thereby giving it an occultation of its own right. And while everybody's looking at the solar calendar, they're missing the boat on what's going on with the moon. There's so much more. It's more of a change agent, because it goes through waxing and waning cycles. So it is a much more potent change agent. Furthermore, it's more proximal to us. It's closer to us. You can see its fine details. Potency of the moon as the true keystone of pagan sublimation, I think, is a great way that I'm going to be seeing things going forward. I think that the sun is just like Apollo, taking up all the glory, getting all the accusation and all the public-facing admiration and that vanity of it. But meanwhile, the moon is really the much more potent calendar to tune into. So, as the sun is going to be in the fall on the opposite side, there will be an alignment where there will be a partial lunar eclipse, 180 degrees from where we are on the calendar, on over here in the skies between Pisces and Aries. There will be a partial lunar eclipse very close to the South Taurid meteor shower neighborhood. It will be flashing on and off periodically, because we are in a very long South Taurid meteor shower cycle. It goes for a couple months actually, but it peaks on the 5th of November. It is the peak expression of the South Taurid meteor showers. And I just find it fascinating that our partial lunar eclipse on 9/17 is going to be just ever so slightly highlighted by the South Taurid quadrant of the sky. So I wanted to mention that, because that is very fascinating, these alignments of these natural elements that can be harnessed in concordance to somebody's will. All of these things I'm saying are ingredients for spellcraft. That is what magics are. Some people use this for their fertility, their personal fertility intentions. These could be mating instructions for married couples. If they pay close enough attention, you can land a baby exactly on the time of year and in the energies that you wish to bring forward in concordance to your will. As well, some people could use this for marketing purposes. I'm sure that's going on. After 9/17, the next solar significant date will be 9/22. That's the fall equinox, where we break, where the length of the days and the nights are equal. This is kind of a 50-yard line. You could think of this as the high noon of the year, or the midnight of the year. But yeah, this is 50-50, black and white, a lot of yin yang, a lot of Urim and Thummim. In Greek astronomy, if you're born in the summer months, this is the dividing line. Anybody born after 922, you're born in the winter months, so you get the black stone, and the summer months get the white stone. So, some very fascinating dividing lines in the sand. We'll just say it that way. Then, after 922, we'll be in October. We'll be in the sign of Libra. The minor decans, we've gone from Corvus, Coma, Centaurus, Bootes. We're going through Crux, Lupus, Corona Borealis, Serpent's Caput, then Hercules, then Ophiuchus. These are all the signs and symbols of the fall. Also, Lyra, Aura, Altair, and Draco are down in Sagittarius. So those are some of the stage props that you can expect to see being flaunted for trigger value in the collective psyche of the homunculus. So, next date of high significance will be essentially a solar eclipse. It's only a annular solar eclipse in Chile and Argentina. Now I'm going to bring a map to show that up. But the eclipse happens on October 2nd. And that date is very fascinating to me. 10-2. It almost constitutes a Jachin and a Boaz. A J is 10, B is 2. So there is something of a gateway of initiation encoded in the date of 10-2. But the eclipse actually takes place on a map. It starts just off a few degrees away from Samoa and just equal degrees away from Hawaii. And it actually rips through, let's see. Yeah. Nope, I don't have them on here. The eclipse commences almost perfectly at the 50-yard line between Hawaii and Samoa. And I just see so much Tulsi Gabbard energy being evoked, dragged into the spotlight during this eclipse on 10-2. Serious, heavy Tulsi implications. So Tulsi was she was interviewed recently on a show where they had very interesting stage lighting set up behind her, where it looks like two lightsabers about to duel it out behind her. But it also signifies Tesla. Nikola Tesla is known to have held the first light tubes in his bare hands, generating some sort of energy out of nowhere with no wires at all. Those pictures have been recreated quite a few times, but the first time I saw Tesla holding these light tubes, I realized those are like lightsabers. They look just like lightsabers. And so it's very fascinating to find this scientific expression of a lightsaber in the hands of Nikola Tesla as an initiation point. And let's not miss Tesla and Tulsi. Real close in there. Also on 10-2 is a comet. Let me see. It is called, oh, it's so hard to even pronounce. It's called Tsuchinshan. Tsuchinshan. Fascinating name. But also apparently has it's also been named Atlas, Atlas. And Tesla, Tesla, is an anagram for ETLAS, Atlas. Tesla and Atlas. Strangely enough, Tesla was using the energy of the firmament, or whatever it is that is the stratosphere. He was harnessing that energy. So for Tesla's name to be an anagram for Atlas is quite fascinating, y'all. It's very fascinating. And this meteor, it dive bombs the sun pretty much on 10-2. And let me see, I'm going to Yep, on 10-3, it's gone past the sun. So there is an Atlas asteroid, comet, maybe it's a comet, dive bombing the sun exactly on the day of the eclipse. And the eclipse is harvesting energy right through Tulsi's home islands, Samoa, which is outside of time, and Hawaii, where they actually call Tulsi the Queen of Hawaii. It's an amazing amount of energy that I see coming on Tulsi's karmic line. She's a commander of psychological operations. She has the circumscripta, that golden lock. Um, Man, I could go on and on. She is so deep with meaning. The circumscripta, if you look it up, it's actually a description of a wing pattern of a moth, which blows my mind because Athena put the butterfly in the minds of men. And this is the corpus callosum. It's also your epigenetic memory. It's so meaningful. But this moth is something else. It's not quite a butterfly. This is to say, it's not that solar calendar that is taking up everybody's louche in the public facing side. The moth operates kind of has a broken flight pattern, a little more chaotic, and also operates at nighttime, not in the light of day. So it is very fascinating if you look up circumscripta, but also, people who have extremely traumatic events, they say that their hair will go white, or a part of their eyebrow, or their beard, or their mustache, or some part of their hair goes white. This is encoded in the Mormon texts, going back to the Mormons used to claim that when people read the scriptures, that they would become white people. The miracle of the gospel would convert them into white people. But in Lex Mercatoria, white blood doesn't mean the color of your skin. It's a purification of your bloodline. White blood is what the royals consider themselves. So when we say, oh, it's all eugenics, we're kind of talking about those pure bloods, the white bloods. But I always want to encourage people to also use the word dysgenics. There's something more accurate about using the term dysgenics in this day and age after what we underwent. It was very dysgenic of them. Okay, so on 10-2 is the solar eclipse, and its greatest expression, it's the darkest moments of that solar eclipse are observed in Chile and Argentina. I'll bring the map. This blows my mind because in my read on this card right there is the Boötes constellation. Over here is our Altair constellation, and Boötes looks like South America. North America looks like our Altair constellation. And so what really blows my mind is there is a little Sobek on shoes. There's a Sobek on the shoes. This signifies the subconscious. And Drake's Passage is actually right at the tip of South America. Just like on this card, there's a Drake and at the foot, at the Boötes of South America. And so for this eclipse to be arcing down over in Argentina, it really signifies a lot of international intrigue and provocation, a great amount of provocation. And I just want to point out that this entire card is the color scheme of the Brazilian flag. Also, this flower right here, I believe, is a Procyon flower. And the Procyon is considered the dog star. It has to do with Canis Minor and Canis Major. But the Procyon star is on the Brazilian flag, if you look up the original Brazilian flag. So a lot of energy from what I see coming out of the Tulsi Gabbard Edvergor, this symbol of Athena, this goddess of the Amazonas. A lot of his energy is actually directed to South America for some reason. I'm just putting this on the record, calling it like I see it. So, yeah. Also, let's not miss the intigration. The intigration, there's a tiger on his thigh. When Damar Hamlin was hit by a Bengal and passed out for 3 days, had 3 days in the underworld, and fell backwards on his ass on the 48th yard line. 48th prime is 2, 2, 3. 223 is the 48th prime number. That was the year that was delineated when the Damar Hamlin ceremony took place. Fell backwards on his ass. This Fool card is unique for falling backwards. So I just wanted to put these things on the map before they happen. I am not predicting future outcomes, but I do want to say I called it if something happens. So these energies are strangely percolating in the South American region. And I think that that will be something of a guiding light as to where to keep our attention as these headlines are running games in our Sobek on shoes. Directly after this solar eclipse crosses the Drake's Passage point. By the way, Drake's Passage is considered the bathymetry choke point of the global weather. Global weather's bathymetry choke point is Drake's Passage. So for the eclipse to be percolating at that pressure point is so profound. The global narrative of climb bitch agony is going to be percolated to the max. And I'm quite sure all of the football commercials between now and then are just turning up the stove tick. Stove tick is an anagram for Tavistock, the gaslighters, the arch gaslighters extraordinaire. So yeah, keep your ears open to the climb bitch agony of the stove tick of Tavistock gaslighting. The day after the solar eclipse crosses over Argentina, very significant in regards to this Fool card, is the beginning of the fall Navaratri. It kicks off on October 3rd and it runs 9 days. So very quickly, I'm going to riff through the 9 muses as in their articulations through the Hindu pantheon. And sometimes I get a little frustrated because in the Western vernacular, we use the word God or goddess to describe these things. And I just want to point out that we're not exactly impeccable when we do that. You know, we're not exactly impeccable, but it's a forgivable error because it's just the way that our language attaches to the thought form. We use the word goddesses, but these are the 9 Devis. And these 9 Devis are kind of like a hydra. They kind of split off and take on these different morphic resonances, but they do go back to Durga. They do reconfigure into Durga. So a lot of mutability, just like the muses. These Devis have a vast amount of mutability. But what's fascinating is they are articulated 1 through 9, the same sequence, in the same order every time. And again, the word order has the definition of the 9 heavenly realms. So on October 3rd is day number 1 of the Navaratri for the fall ceremonies. Sara means wax. It means wax. And your cerebellum is your brain that changes shape with your thoughts. So, and also the ceremonies are a memory, commemorating the past. Fascinating enough, all of the Navaratris are generally celebrated during waxing moon cycles. Very potent, the Sera of this ceremony. All right. First on October 3rd is Shela Putri, and she is known as the Mountain Daughter. I've put their names on my constellations just for my own memory palace. But Shela Putri will be correspondent with Palahimnia. She is the first muse of the symposium, as as Phaedrus was the first speaker, and he was a rhetorician. So Sheila Putri and Polyhymnia powerfully corresponded in their first station on the Enneagram of the Symposium of Navaratri. So many layers. This is just too delicious. It's too hard to resist for me. So October 4th will be Brahmakarini. Brahmakarini is known as known to reduce anger, which is fascinating because the first personality type has a shadow of anger. And Brahmakarini, her name is she who reduces anger. Very interesting. Day number 3 is Chandraghanta. She has a third eye that fights off demons. Very fascinating because it is the third day of the symposium. This is Rixamachus in the symposium. He is the healer. He is the one who brings the drugs, brings the medicines. Difference between medicines and drugs nowadays, increasingly so. There's a big difference between the word drugs and the word medicines. And I hope everybody uses their discernment on that interpretive nugget. Next comes Kushmanda on October 6th. She is always described with the cosmic egg and spreading warmth. This is profound because it was the fourth speaker who also described the Genesis story of the Greeks, where Zeus cuts the four-armed, four-legged hermaphrodites. He cuts them in half, just like an egg, just like cutting an egg. That's how it's described, as though dividing a hard-boiled egg with a wire or a thread. And so that is some of the symbols of Kushmanda, but also she creates the universe with her smile. The person telling the fourth eulogy is the comedian. It's Aristophanes, and his muse holds the smile, the comedy mask. Thalia and Kushmanda, powerfully correspondent. Next is Skandamata, who rules over the Buddha. Very fascinating, and is always depicted with a child on her lap. And that was the Hierophant card that was in the 5th position. Card number 5 was in the 5th position. And that's Agathon. In his eulogy, he's talking about love prefers what is newborn, what is supple and soft. The softest surfaces are more receptive to love, including your eyes. And so I talk about this nubile energy of Agathon's symposium. And sure enough, in the Hindu Navaratri, it is Skandamata who has a nubile entity, a little child on the lap, just like the Hierophant has a child almost like strapped to their chest like a daddy Mobius. I love the Mobius. That's the best daddy implement that ever did exist. I can't speak for the ladies. I'm sure it's great for mamas too, not to have to carry baby all the time. They can just attach. So next in the Navaratri on October 8th is Katyayani. And this is where women will often pray for marriage. And the women praying for marriage is actually an observance of the Navaratri foundational myth, as it's 9 days of struggle of good versus evil. And so on the 6th day to go and pray for marriage is actually channeling a one-to-one relationship from the micro, from the individual, onto the macro, as evil is fighting off good. Good is fighting off evil. And also, 10-8, boom, 10-8 is a meteor shower. It's a very important meteor shower. This is the Draco meteor shower. It's taking place during Katyayani's Navaratri day. This is really significant to me because the Draco meteor shower is coming right out of the head of the constellation Draco. So I'm not predicting anything. I'm just putting it on y'all's radar. October 8th, last year, this was when Israel was going nuts, was during the Dracid meteor showers. Isn't that right? They called it October 7th event. It was just right during this meteor conflagration in the Draco constellation, which is just out of reach for Hercules. If he reaches out with one hand, he grabs Draco. If he reaches with the other hand, he grabs Serpent's kaput. Hercules was born on a day where he's struggling with two snakes. It's still going on in the heavens. So yeah, there will be a conflagration on the one of the snakes that Hercules is wrestling with on Katyayani's Navaratri day. Then comes October 10th. This will be, oh no, excuse me. On October 9th is the next one. And this is Kaalratri. I've corresponded this to the muse of Plato, or the muse of Socrates. His muse was Calliope, and he's in the 7th position in the symposium. Sure enough, it's Kaalratri is the Hindu Devi that is correspondent to Socrates' muse. And Kaalratri is a bad mamma jamma. She's all about natural destructive energies, catastrophes. And it says here that she is destructive and rules over Saturn. That is a little wrench in my gears because I see the number 7 personality type is very Jupiterian, as they are an enthusiast with the shadow of a glutton and a remedial virtue of abstinence. But also, Socrates did have dominion over the next speaker in the symposium. And the 8th position is where I put the planetary association of Saturn, and Alcibiades comes into the symposium to say that Socrates has control over me. So while it says that Kaalratri is destructive and rules over Saturn, it's just fascinating because between the 7 and the 8, I see Jupiter and then Saturn. So, and this is a crucial dividing line between your thinking groups and your acting group. Very fascinating how, even with the rule of Kal-El, of give and take one, you can see the handing off of power dynamics. We'll just leave it at that. So the number 8 on October 10th, so 10/10, is Mahagauri, and she is celebrated with maidens dressed in white virgins, white-clad Vestal virgins, probably kept hungry, and this is a day of dance. And Mahagauri's day of observance is a day of dancing. This is Terpsichore. This is the muse of dance in the 8th position. It was the star card and the lust card, as they both were. In my earliest works, they were correspondent to the 8, a controller with a shadow of lust, domineering, and a remedial virtue of sympathy. Dancing is sympathetic magics. So to have the muse of dance, Terpsichore, in the 8th position is really next level. It's really next level. Mahagauri in the Navaratri. October 11th is the end of the celebrations. This is 10-11, which is a sequence of 1-1-1. Very, very potent mathematical truism, the 1-1-1s. And all numbers, even 1,111 or 11,111. There's an entire math pyramid of multiplication that expresses with all results as sequences of 1. It's a very potent mathematical truth for this to be the ending of the Navaratri, and that will be Siddhidatri. She is the Devi that fulfills your wishes. I want to mention Siddhidatri has the word hide, hidden, in her name. The number 9 personality in the Greek pantheon was Hades, and many things are hided in your head. So number 9 personality type is very much in their head, but they are also in the acting group. So they have a key aspect of balance, being a peacekeeper, not losing their head, in fact, you could say, and a remedial virtue of, some say solitude, but I like diligence and perseverance. Yeah, those are good remedial virtues for the number 9. And this was Plato in the symposium. As he was not there, he came later. He was slothful. He was too young. He wasn't in the symposium, but he gave it its shape. He rounded it out. Urania is the muse of Plato, as let none enter who have not mastered geometry. So Plato is the gatekeeper. He's holding the door of the symposium. And Siddhartri is the ninth Devi in Navaratri. And her day of observance will be 10-11. Sure enough, Navaratri has a conclusion on the day after that ninth observance. And they call that Vijay Dasami. Vijay Dasami. That's a fun word. All right. So I just wanted to put some of these fascinating events in alignment on the record so that we can see ahead of time that the Navaratri seems to be some of the most subtle of subtle energies that are not going to be observed while the Abrahamics are pointing fingers at each other. Nobody's looking at systems that come from, that even predate those systems. The Greeks and the Hindu. Those are the most subtle, and the subtle informs the gross. All right, I'm going to call it on that, y'all. Hey, yo, guess what? Slick Dissidents got merch, y'all. Slick Dissidents got merch. I got my t-shirts out there. I got my little onesies for the kiddos and tank tops for the ladies. I got my Zippos fired up, and I designed the back of a tarot deck if anybody cares to come over to slickdissident.com. And yeah, you can see some of my art that I really, truly, deeply care to reciprocate everybody's appreciation for what I do. There's quite a few ciphers on offer. You can check out the Samastronomy, the Samurai Astronomer t-shirt I just put together. I'm really proud of that one. It has the Diction of Aries on there. You can kind of see the alphabet that completes a birth cycle 270 degrees around a circle. That's one birth cycle, 270 degrees. And then the closing off is the 1 through 9 of the math numbers to bring it to full circle for 360 degrees. So yeah, all those things are out there for everybody to enjoy and appreciate. Please check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes. Big love and respect, all you fabulous dissidents. It's such a joy to share with everybody. All right, big strength, much love. Get your stellarium on.